Gyotaku, first of all, it means fish compression. It's an ancient Japanese technique dating back to the 1800s, but before the invention of the modern day camera. And it's what the Japanese fishermen used to do to record fish species. And it was a really accurate representation of what they caught. All I use is I just use straight calico. So I buy big rolls of it, and there's absolutely no limit as to the size of the fish you want to print. Thin, tight woven calico is the best. Just keep a roll of that in my car, and I roll that into my living room and just whack off bits whenever I need to print some fish. In terms of inks, using something like flint ink or block ink, any printmaking ink that's quite viscous, you can dilute it down to get the right consistency in it. Depending on how your results go with certain fish, you can add a little bit more and thicken it up so you can almost get like a paste on top. I've got a little bit of that in this jar and just put a little bit of water in it. Hake brushes, they're made of goat hair. These are $3–4 each. You know, they're cheap as, and they're really, really soft bristles. And then I just get tiny little detailing brushes for working back into various details. And how much you work back into the print is entirely up to you. Okay? There's no right or wrong way of doing it. There's so many Gyotaku artists around the world pushing the boundaries in the process. I try to keep things real simple and just do a couple of details to hold on to the integrity of the actual raw printing process. The newspaper, the paper towels, and be prepared for some fishy smells. Because I'm a diver, I love being in the ocean, and part of my method to my madness, I guess, about why I do this is I'm just infatuated with seafood, infatuated with the underwater world, and I think this is a really good way of paying homage to the beauty of our fish species in Aotearoa. The nice thing about this process is that you can use the fish afterwards, you can wash off all the ink and and have a really beautiful keepsake of what you've made. Right. Sand flounder. Probably the easiest fish you can Gyotaku because it's flat. First things first is you want to have a fresh fish, and you want to clean it right down because they're all covered with slime, and you want to get as much of that off as possible. I've found sometimes when I've been dealing with a really fresh fish, the ink almost reacts with some of the slime and almost congeals and coagulates, and you get a really poor looking print. So taking your time to just wipe that fish down and get as much of that slime off as possible is a really worthwhile process. When they are juvenile, they've got eyes on both sides of their heads, and one of those eyes never goes over to the other side of its body. Wow. Okay? And these guys sit flat on the sand floor and they swim sideways. Okay? But what we think is sideways is actually the right way up for them. Jandori, they're very, very small profile. Okay, so this is a really easy fish to print as well because of how flat it is. They've got telescopic mouths, so they swim up behind their fish and they extend their jaws. And this one here, you can probably, I don't know if you can see, but there's a really pronounced thing there, and there's guts, there's probably another fish. Challenginess of Gyotaku prints. Kawai, also known as Australian salmon. They get a lot bigger over in Australia, but these are very, very common in New Zealand and most people's first fish. Got my fish. Biggest mistake is putting too much ink on, so just put it ink on and just work with that amount of ink on your brush and open up every single thing. Paint that fish black. Okay, there's quite a bit of ink on there. If I printed that now, it's going to be black, pure black print. It'll be muddy, it'll be horrible. So I take another brush, or a dry brush, and I just remove heaps of that ink. So using your paper towels around you, just literally spread that ink off it, so you only end up with a very, very, very thin layer. So you're removing a huge amount of the ink that you print on. With some cotton wool buds, take away the ink from the eyes. And what that does is when it prints, it means that you get a void, you get a white space where the eyes are, so you can detail them back in. Work away lines from the gills and the fins. There's no limit as to what you do. Alright, wiped away the eyes, removed the majority of the ink, and then we take some fabric, pre-cut to the size of the fish, and we lay it on. And then you rub that fish. So carefully applying pressure to the body. I tend to do the body first. Applying pressure to those fins. When I work with the fins, I work along the fin rays, and then I'll start to open up fins. Open them up and apply pressure down. Now the first print I do is usually pretty bad, and it's just figuring it out and responding to my work and reflecting on it, and then making adjustments to my process with the next print. So each time I print a fish, I might print 6 to 10, sometimes even 15 prints until I get some good results. And then once you're happy with that, you peel it. Now when I look at that, so I'm pretty happy with the scale registration on that body. That's quite nice. You're getting some good variation in tone around the fins. I didn't wipe away nothing around that head. Okay, so I really pick apart my prints like any artist would, and they critique all my crazy, and then it's just about how do I fix those problems. So pretty happy with those fins up the top. Get really nice delicate textures in the membranes. Same with down here. Not enough pressure there on the belly, that's right. And you can sort of very faintly see where I marked out that spot. And that's okay, because when I work back into it, I might put a little bit of tone around there to really define it quite well. Okay?